watched some. I've watched some courses on, on YouTube, and I've never been able to wrap my head around like picking out the lights and the darks. So that's what I'm really here to learn, and also just everything else that goes on with it. I've never painted on canvas. I've done a little bit of palette knife, but I've never actually painted on canvas. So I'm a real newbie.
Wonderful. You brave soul.
Pretty brave, because I'm afraid to put my first purple on. So
Yay. You're going to find that once you get through, I think maybe the first couple hours, it does get to be fun. Like today is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I've got my brushes ready to go. Thank you, Joyce. Kim, question or something from what you learned this week, or?
Well, I learned that the coloring book shapes are really important, because I'm getting a bit lost in certain areas, and luckily I'm using acrylic, so I can quickly go over areas that are really bothering me and redo my original drawing. Other than that, I've learned also that I can't paint while I'm listening to you, because I was playing back the video. So I think once I understand the values, it's more, I'm just basically doing what you're doing now, and I'm really enjoying that, but I want to switch that off so I can really try to see those shapes and the values myself. So it's the values that I'm going to have the most trouble with, and I always have. So I'm looking forward to getting over that hump. But it's been great. It's just learning how to use the brushes in this technique. I have the same problem with the strokes. My paint kind of drags, and it's seeming a bit messy to me, but I'm not worrying too much about that. I figure I'll figure it out as I go.
Awesome. I think stage 1 can be quite messy. I did go and clean up a few of my edges on Marialva, just closing them in a little bit. But also, looseness is great for a large painting. Like, that's wonderful. And you will see value. Squinting is your best friend. So when you want to see value, just turning your head, looking at your photo, looking at your painting, and then just kind of squinting, and then starting to see the value. You don't have to put a number on it. You just need to sort of match your paint. The darks are easier to match. The lights are a little harder to see for value.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Great, thanks.
Francine.
Hi, I'm Francine. I'm from Calgary. I took a painting course with Diane a few years ago just to paint my own dog. So I learned quite a lot from that. Yeah, and I'm just hoping to get some more experience with the stages. And I'm a total beginner, so I'm just happy I got the drawing done.
Francine is a beautiful painter. Her dog was really exquisite. She's also a beautiful drawer. Yeah, it was very delightful working with you on your dog. And I know your dog turned out very purple and blue. And I have more techniques now for making blacks without using black. So I'm sure we'll expand your knowledge. Thanks, Francine. Julia.
Good morning. So I have first I have a question about when I was watching your video, it kind of looked like you had multiple brushes with different colors on them. Or were you washing the same brush every time you applied a new color?
If it was the same size brush, I'd just be wiping it with paper towel, and you probably didn't see my left hand. You probably
Okay.
just saw my right going in. I'm a lazy painter. I use the same brush. If I like that size of brush, I will just keep wiping it and then little dip in canola oil, but really wipe it off because you can get a little bit of a sheen sometimes with it. I think so, I'm not sure if someone asked that question or not, but do wipe it off well. Or if I'm painting, I will just wipe it a little bit and then pick up, if it's darker, the color, I can just pick it up easily. If I go to my yellows and my pinks, then I'll really wipe it off, especially if I'm in my blues, and then I go back to my lights. And I have no rhyme or reason, especially in stage 2, for going light to dark. I go wherever the painting calls me.
Okay, because that was one thing I struggled a little bit with was I know we painted in all the lights originally, but then we went back, but I was sort of adding some darks, and then I'd go back and want to fix something, and I'd really try to wipe my brush off, but it wouldn't quite be. I felt like things were trying to go muddy on me. Anyway, that was my question, but I wanted to say that I really appreciated the video because I liked painting along with it and being able to stop it, and you know, I'd be painting something and then you go on to something else. I'm like, oh, hang on, Diane. Pause you and kind of finish what I was doing and go on to the next bit. So it was really helpful
Wonderful. Thanks,
having
Julie.
the recording. Yeah.
Great. And Darlene emailed me last night and said, make sure you turn the recording on. I always forget. So yeah, that's great. Thank you. Janet.
Hi. Well, I'm finding it quite challenging working on such a large canvas because, you know, I come from a background of watercolor where you paint small, and then most of the oil paintings I've done have been small paintings. So I'm finding that quite challenging, although I do enjoy using the large brushes, because even when I watercolor, I use the largest brush I can. And then obviously I emailed about the lines coming through. So I don't know if it's the paint, with it being this water mixable oil paint, whether it's kind of thinner, but it does seem quite transparent to me. So I think that's why the blue watercolor pencil is showing through. So I'm hoping with subsequent layers, like other people, I did try doing dulling down on the face a bit of the orange, and I found it almost kind of scumbled. So the paint just kind of sits on the surface, and I was like, oh, I don't know if that's right. So I stopped there.
Janet, can we have a quick peek at what happened to your paint?
I don't know. Okay. It's like the orange bit on the face, maybe. Okay. Yeah, it's around here. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to hold my iPad here.
Yeah.
Around here.
What happened to it?
It just kind of scumbled on top. It just didn't seem to go on very smoothly. It wasn't exactly streaky. It's just almost like it just sat there, and it was quite thick. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll send you a photo later, because I'm probably just going to watch today. I'll do a close-up photo and send it to you so you can get a better look.
How long does it take for watercolor oils to dry?
It varies. It's pretty much like oil paint. It's fairly slow, yeah.
So I wonder if it got into that sticky stage and then you put it on, like we're all talking about, we got into that sticky stage.
Maybe.
You just let it dry. That's my feeling. That one area, you could see, are the other areas kind of dry?
Most of it's dry. There's a little bit that's tacky on the main, but most of it's touch dry now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I would just go in and do those areas then too, because I'm just touching mine right now, and I've got main is good, body's a little off, so this will be good because I've stickiness going. So we may end up doing our background today.
Okay.
I wanted to say that I also used the blue watercolor pencil And I didn't use water mixable oils. I used regular oils, but I found that they still showed through as well. So I wonder if it's because we use that pencil,
Mm.
because I had a little bit of a problem with it getting picked up. So then I was using an eraser and trying to get rid of it before I painted on top of it as much as I could.
Yes, I did the same.
Hey, Darlene's not here. She's the one that uses the blue watercolor pencil. Does anyone else use the blue watercolor pencil? Nope. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll ask her further about that. I've never used it either because I love the charcoal, but I know you can get much more detail with that watercolor pencil, and you know sometimes that's nice. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Lexa, how was it for you?
Yeah, I went back over the recording the day after because I was feeling very overwhelmed. And that was good. I still don't, yeah, I'm still feeling like I'm shaky on a number of things. I don't think in color, so I don't really understand value so easily, and I don't understand mixing color and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, so I think that's really, yeah, I don't have an eye really for that. So yeah, so that's I think that the harder part for me, because I don't, like, there's parts that aren't working, but I'm like, I don't know why, you know. Yeah. So
Okay. So I'm here during the week to totally support you. So you just take a picture of what's worrying you, send it to me, and you know I can usually get back to you fairly soon. And so that's kind of my way of going back and forth. In the beginning, when we did these courses, there would be a time of about half an hour where I would go and look at everybody's painting and how they're putting color on, how they're holding their brush. But now it seems like it's almost best to watch and then play, but please do send, like, don't, like, send your
yeah,
question.
I,
Yeah.
I feel like there was things that got missed. Like I was one of the ones that didn't take the charcoal off, so there's a bunch of blending, and there's so
Right.
much I just don't
That was
know.
my bad.
And so yeah, so it just feels like, yeah, just, I've never taken an art class before really at all, so there's just a lot of stuff that maybe is sort of a given of like, oh, people know this stuff, and yeah, just feeling like I'm playing a bit of catch up. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited for the point that it actually feels fun and not like I want to cry all the time, so that would be good.
Well, Alexa. Okay, next time you want to cry, just please email me, okay? Thank you. And Vicky.
Oh, I really had a good week of painting, other than that thing I discussed about the streaking and the, putting the dulling. I kept, because I used to work in acrylics and oils are new to me. So I do get what Alexa's saying, because I felt exactly the same the very first class I took for you. But after doing a number of classes, it was like Tetris. Everything just slowly started to fit into place. And now I don't have to think so hard on those things. But I kept feeling like I needed to thin the paint to do the top, but there's nothing to thin it with, right? So yeah, that was the feeling I kept getting all the time when I was trying to dull. I'm like, how can I get this thinner? Yeah, but I had such a good week of painting. It was good.
Great.
I didn't feel rushed, and I love your videos because I do exactly what I think Julia said, is that pause and then catch up and then really listen and then let it go again. I did have a bit of problem hearing the video.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because of me or not, but I was struggling. So I was trying to match my phone to my laptop so I could get it louder. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else did, but I just thought I'd mention it in case, in case that's an issue for anybody else too.
I'm just trying to remember. Okay, I'm just going to turn it up right now. think speakers, no. I know there's a way of switch to test speaker microphone. Okay. Does anyone remember how you turn up the volume on? Did anyone else have that problem? Was I too soft spoken? No. Okay. I'll
Okay,
just.
probably
I know
me then.
that Darlene called me on it because she couldn't really hear me when I was over on my easel. So
Right.
what happens when I'm painting is I'm in my left brain and I'm talking to you and everything's good, and then all of a sudden I go over to my right brain, and then I think I get softer and softer and softer. So just please remind me. That would be
Okay.
great.
Oh,
Yeah.
and while I'm talking, I was going to show you the streakiness.
Yeah,
Can
that'd be
you,
great.
like that? Can you see
Yep,
that?
I sure can. Yep, that's sticky dry brushing.
Sticky. Okay. And
Yep.
then same with here. I was trying to be so light and I'm like, oh, that looks like
Okay.
a bit of a mess. So
Yeah.
I thought I'll let it dry and then I'll fix it after that.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it's dry, it'll be good. Thank you, Vicky.
But you're welcome. Thank you.
Natasha, good morning.
Good morning. I had a really nice time working with this painting. I really enjoy trying to tackle the larger format. And I found that finding the shapes was actually a bit easier than working with a small painting. And then just the issue that I came up to was the paint drying too quickly. And I'm working with oil paints, and I like to map out all the values of the horse. So once I got to the end bits, the ones I started with were already dry. And so I'm just wondering how you would deal with that.
And that's what we're going to do today. And yes, that's why doing a large one is good, because all those things come up really obviously, and we'll just work with them. So it's kind of working on different areas, Natasha, that aren't sticky, and bringing out that stiff brush and doing some dry brushing. You can do your whole stage one and then just let it dry and then come back to it, maybe 2 weeks later, and then just go in and dry brush the whole thing. Or you can lay nice, beautiful wet paint back onto it, do some more wet on wet, do some dry brushing on some of the dry areas, so we can combine all of this. My teacher would do small paintings in plein air and pretty much finish them in 2 hours. When I took a course from her, we would come back the next day to finish because we couldn't paint that fast, and it would still be wet the next day. So that's how we did it with Susan Sarbach. So yeah, drying time with oil is a little trickier, but it's a beautiful medium to use. What I'd like to do is just show you some wonderful stage ones, just to remind you what stage one is for those of you that are just starting today too. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if I get too quiet. Okay, here is.
In progress.
Let's just bring over Marialva again. There. So just showing you again stage one and what stage one looks like, that it's kind of wild, that you set your light key with your dioxazine purples in through here. This is the one that I did for Opus, and starting with your lightest lights if you're doing oil, so your pale yellow, into your pinks, into your oranges, and then into your magentas. And remember, magenta crosses over to light and dark. Then we start dark to light. So here we've got beautiful darks, and we're getting lighter, lighter, lighter with our 3 blues: ultramarine, cobalt, cerulean, and then back to magenta for those areas that are in half light, half shadow. Okay, let's see. So just want to show you the stage 2. So here's stage 2 with the one from Opus, and you can see that I've gone in and it almost looks like I had a dirty brush and I dulled the color, especially this cheek part here. I actually went in with too many layers here and felt it was too muddy. I didn't really like it, and it got a little muddy in through the neck here. But this would have been my start of stage 2, going over some of the bright colors. You can see the face, putting what we would call, say, a cool color on a warm color. For example, we were using cerulean blue on orange, so that's a cool color going on to a warm color, or a warm color into a cool color. So I sometimes think of stage 2 as warm into cool, cool into warm, and that's just a really loose term, not to be totally stuck on it. You can dull a color by putting any color on top. White will dull a color. Yellow on top of pink will dull the pink. What we're trying to do in stage 2 is to actually paint it like the photograph and start using the colors we see in the photograph and layering right onto the canvas as opposed to pre-mixing. Okay, so that's my stage 2. Just one sec here. Just have to find. Just going to disappear for a sec and bring these photos over. 1 minute here. What I did yesterday. So what I did yesterday is I went through some of my horses and just did the stage 1 and 2 so you could see it. Okay, how do I get back into being big here?
That is gorgeous. Wow.
Just one sec. Okay, you are screen sharing. Okay, good. All right, here we go. Okay, this one is Lyrica, and this was in the horse course that we did quite a long time ago. These are small little canvases. And I'm going to show you the stage 1 again. Stage 1 is all about value. If you just have one word for stage 1, it's really value. And it's getting the value correct with your lights. So again, here's a beautiful Hansa yellow. This would be your Indian yellow, going into orange, going into pink, and going into magenta. So these are the colors in light that you can use, and we try to keep them really limited so that you don't have 500 choices on stage 1. Stage 1 is supposed to be easy and fun. Then we go into our shadow colors. So look at Lyrica, how dark it is right here under her forelock. So you set your light key with your number 5 value, your darkest dark. And if you squint and you look back and forth, you can see that they match. So look at this blue. This is not quite a 5. It's more a 4.5. So go back and forth. And then this piece of magenta. Maybe this is a little dark. We could have made it lighter. But if you look at the whole piece, sometimes when you squint, it looks darker because you're trying to pull in all the different variations of it. So let's look at this one. Come on, Marialva. Okay, so let's just look at the photograph and let's look at the stage 1. So I want you to squint. Here's your darkest darks right in here. So really sock them in pretty dark. I also took the liberty right in through this little V of simplifying it and just making it very dark. Here's that beautiful dark diamond right in the middle of the forelock. And then the nostrils. So here's those gorgeous number 5s. Here's some beautiful number 1, especially right here, right around that lovely nostril, a bit around the ear, and then just lightly, the light is catching the very top of Marialva's mane. So here's your 1, here's your 5. Then somewhere halfway between you, somewhere here is your 3. And then you've got your 4 a little bit darker and your 2 a little bit lighter. And you don't again, you don't have to put numbers on it. Doesn't need to have the numbers. Okay, just want to show you that one. Okay. That into the stage 2. Okay, I think that should be good. Stop share. I'm just going to go to my other, just going to pin this one. Okay, so stage 1, light, shadow, that's it. Value, 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 value. And if you're in oil, start with the lightest color. If you're acrylic, you can go ahead and start with your darks first. We start with the lightest color in oil so that we don't mix the purple in too soon and you get a whole bunch of bleeding. So words for stage 1, coloring book. Coloring book is great. Mapping it out. Value. That's stage 1. That's all stage 1 is. Stage 2, refining the masses. So a mass is a whole shape. So think of this as a whole shape. So say we have 40 shapes on here. Now we're going to go into those shapes and we're going to play. So stage 2 is play. It's absolutely play. But what we're going to also do is we're going to look at temperature. We're going to look at warm, cool, and we're going to see if some areas are too bright and we're probably going to dull them, and some may become too dull and we'll have to brighten them again. But when we come to our painting every single time, the first thing we do is we say, is anything too light? Anything too dark? Do we need to change the value before we start? And I'm pretty confident that this works. I'm just going to bring up my photo so I can work with it. Oops. There we go.
Diane, the camera didn't switch there when you went to the phone.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't switch to the phone?
No, it didn't.
Okay. Pin. Okay, I'm just going to go to... How's that?
That's worked, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so this is what I have on top of my easel. This is going to be me speaking to you when I'm not there. And stage 2 again is all about temperature and play. Play is huge. Stage 2 is so much fun. So, later, okay, technology. So here's my brush I'm using today. It is just bigger than 1/2 inch wide, and it's a stubby little one. And I'm just going to go into some of my colors and see how sticky they are, and then we can sort of figure that out together. Okay, so all right, just hang on for a sec while I move this over. Okay, please go over here. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, and it doesn't really matter where you start. You can start anywhere. Now, would you like to see my palette, or do you want to see closer up with the painting? Do you want to see palette and painting, or do you just
Yes. Both, please.
Both, please? Okay.
Wow.
I have a lot of paint on here, and then this morning I was carrying this and it flipped back.
Oh.
So it's a little bit messy, but I love messy. Messy's good for me. All right, now so let me know if you can hear me. And so the first thing I see is this kind of big area in here, and it's big and it's dark and it doesn't really have very much interest in it. It's pretty flat. So when I look at my photograph, I am seeing all kinds of things. I think the first thing I pick up when I scan, looking at this big area, looking back to my photograph, is almost a pink. Like almost a dirty pink. So I'm going to go right into my magenta. This is my magenta, and then I have got a quinacridone violet here, which might also work. But I'm just going to start with my magenta and just picking up just a little bit of paint on my brush and just going in on this. This is actually really dry. So I can go in and there's no stickiness. I'm going to add a smidge of white to it so I can actually see it. And it's a little bit streaky because I'm dry brushing. So when you dry brush, what you do is you put a little bit of paint onto your brush, and then quite often you actually take some of it off so you don't have very much on it. And then you go in and you make sort of scratchy noises into the paint. So I'm going to go into just a few areas and just put a little bit of this on top. So this is stage 2. Stage 2, temperature. We're changing the temperature and the brightness and dullness of it. Oops, so I got too much on. So I'm just going to wipe everything off. I'm not going into canola oil. And so that one is way too dark. So I'm going back in to fix it with my blue and a little bit of white. There we go. So it's back to where it was. And I'm finding it really easy to work on the mane. And it could be because I started the purple the week before and it's super, super dry. Okay, looking at some of the pieces in here. I'm going to have to just turn this a bit so I can see my photo better. And there we go. So I'm just looking up, and I'm looking up at this piece, and it looks too blue. And I just want to add in some kind of something. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, what does it need? So I'm just going to ask you, I might ask Natasha, if you have this big piece of blue and you're looking at your photograph of Marialva. By the way, does everyone have their photograph up of Marialva?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Natasha, what do you see in that beautiful piece of Warlock that you would want to put in as a layer on top?
Okay, my thought is to warm it, sorry, is to warm it first before putting on that final blue highlight. That's because it's quite cool now, but I see dark warm underneath and then a soft blue over top of that. Sorry if that is too complicated of an answer.
That was an excellent answer. Thank you. I'm going to take a little bit of my Indian yellow and just going to warm it up. And okay, can you see that? Can you see that warmth that came through?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just not sure if I should just pull my camera a little bit closer. So I'm warming up all of these areas. I have the tiniest little bit of Indian yellow on. Indian yellow is somewhat transparent, so it dry brushes beautifully onto it. So there we go, we warmed it up. And I'm also going to take the Indian yellow and go, where else do I need to warm up? Maybe a little bit into these areas because they're pretty hot looking. And this in through here is a little bit cool also because of the cerulean blue on top. And what's really beautiful about dry brushing, if it's dry, is you can change the color so fast and so thin with dry brushing that you can sometimes get some really amazing layers that you couldn't get wet on wet. I always like to do some dry brushing at the end. Okay. So I'm going up and warming up a whole bunch of areas that I feel are too, and even in the eye here, I've got the dioxazine purple here, and usually with purple, I'll very often put orange on, but I'm going with the Indian yellow just because he's a buckskin. So I just put a little bit in the corner of the eye, warm that up. Now I'm going to go to the ears. I'm going to go to the dioxazine purple on the ears and just scumble on top. And I'm barely using any paint at all. You'll find that stage 1 is where you use most of your paint. And then in stage 2 and 3 and 4, you use less. Okay, and I'm going to warm up a little bit into the ear there. So I'm really just going into my purples with the tiniest bit of Indian yellow. If I want to make more of a black layer, I have a recipe that is dark green and purple. So what I would do is I would just make up a little bit of dark green. So I'm going to just switch to that. So I'm just wiping off my brush, picking up Hansa yellow just at the end here, my light yellow, heading up to my ultramarine, making a nice dark green with my ultramarine. So you can kind of see. There it is. I'll just make it a little bit darker. And when you put green over purple, it does tend to really darken it and start to give you a few blacks. And if I was pre-mixing it at the end to do manes and tails, I normally don't pre-mix, but I will sometimes my black. I will use green, a little bit of purple, and a little bit of magenta. And if I want it a little bit cooler, I'll add a bit of ultramarine. But this is kind of a nice warm sort of black. So I'm just going to put it on just to show you into some of the super dark areas. So again, right through here. So here's this almost warm black on top of this warm yellow that I put underneath it. And just layering on that. And just going into some of these. Now, this is going to go a little bit into stage 3. When I start to do the mane, I let variations happen as I'm putting them in. And the mane goes very, very quickly into stage 3. Stage 3 is breaking up the shapes into more than one shape. Questions?
Diane, are you using more of the black now rather than when you were using the Indian yellow, which was quite dry? Are you using more paint or about the same?
I'm covering a larger area, so I put a little bit more paint on, but it's, I hope you can hear it, it's still really scratchy, which means it's really dry. And what I'm actually doing right now is I'm almost breaking up the areas and letting them be a little bit streaky. So I'm going to move in a little bit closer so you can see. So I'm just picking up that same block and I'm kind of going in, and you can see little variations. And if you look at the photo of the mane, there are variations. I don't paint every individual strand. What I do is give a feeling of it. So I'm going back up to the forelock, and it really is a stage 3. I'm dry brushing variations into that mask. So you can see there's some light, some dark, some real dark. And it goes quite quickly. Your stage 1 is your longest planning out stage. So you get it correct and then everything else falls into place. So I am doing a little bit of variation here. So take a look at your photo. There's some beautiful darks here, some darks here, and then some in the middle. So I'm picking up this purple, green, black, and with, again, just a little bit on my brush. You can kind of see it's not really saturated, it's just dirty. And I'm going in and I'm dulling this little area here, and I'm creating a few variations. So you can, that is actually really hard to do when I'm wet. It's really easy to do with a dry brush. Those of you in acrylic, you're going to have so much fun. And you will have fun in oils. So now what I'm going to do is just show you a little bit of edges here. Just because we're here, I'm going to barely touch it. I barely have any paint on my brush. And I'm just starting to make a bridge between this color and this color by just going in with what's left on my brush. It's a little sticky, so I'm just going to be careful. There we go. So you can see that beautiful soft edge. So I've jumped the stages a little bit. With horses, I do tend to do that. Okay. So now I'm just going to stand back, kind of going to look at what I'm doing and going, where should I go? And what I'm seeing right in here is more light and more warmth. If you look at the photograph, you can see some beautiful pieces kind of coming through that are a little bit warmer. So going back to my Indian yellow with a tiny, tiny bit of white. You can see that. And I've got too much paint on it because it's too juicy. So just wiping it off on my palette and going in, just going in, bringing that light in with the brush. And again, it's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to follow it exactly because it will probably drive me crazy, but I'm going to get all the generalities there. There's a little more light up there that we missed. So, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm making it look like the photograph now. There we go. And a little bit more in there. And I am totally into stage 3. Making variations in each mouse. Just with the forelock and mane. There we go. Looking a little bit over here. And it seems lighter over here. So I like what Natasha said. Natasha, you always have great wisdom. She saw the warmth first underneath and then saw the kind of the cerulean blue on top. And that's a really good way to look at this painting in that way. And right in here, maybe just a little bit warmer also. Okay, so you can see some really nice variations starting to come. Let's just see. This is sticky. Yep, you can hear me. This is sticky. This isn't. This isn't. So this huge big area here, I'm going to probably just leave for now. Otherwise I'll get into lots of trouble. I'm just going to go down into the beautiful nostril just for a few minutes. And I've got this color here. So I want you to just take a look. I want you to think. Take a look at this beautiful, this looks like about a number 4 value. It's kind of purplish. And does it need to be warmer or cooler? Anyone?
Warmer?
Yes, definitely. He's got a lot of warmth on him. So I have a choice. I can use orange, Indian yellow, I can use pink, I can use magenta. What would be the color that you would choose for this little area in here? And if you move your head back and forth, scan, back and forth, scan, back and forth, what color do you come up with? Anyone?
Orange?
Yeah, orange would be good. Or if you want to be a little softer, you could go to the Indian yellow. So the orange tends to be quite opaque and thick. So knowing a little bit about the quality of your paint helps. The Indian yellow is more transparent. So right now, I'm just going to pick up the Indian yellow again. You can see I barely have anything on my brush. And I might even just wipe it just to make sure. And I'm just going to go in and warm up that little area. Okay, so looking at this beautiful piece of pink that comes down Marialva's nose, I'm going to go in closer for you. There, okay, just so you can see where I'm working. This beautiful piece of pink here, I just want you thinking. So look at the photograph. What do you think, what color grabs you that you would put on here first to make it look more like the photograph? What are you seeing? Are you seeing warm? Are you seeing cool? yeah, just think about what are you seeing? Vicky, I know you're painting. It's a little piece of pink right here. What color, do you see a warm color on top of it first or a cool color? Oh, I think you're muted, Vicky.
I think a cool color.
Okay, what color should I go for?
Let's see. Probably the lightest blue.
Okay,
Manganese. Yeah.
okay, I'll do a little bit of manganese. Those of you that don't have manganese blue, your cerulean will be just perfect. So I'm picking up manganese with a tiny bit of white, just the tiniest bit, and I have way too much on my brush. So just kind of just wiping a little bit of it off. You can just see it's just sort of coming off, and in I go. Very gently, like a butterfly. And it's almost too much, but yes, it looked really good. And looking at it again and seeing that maybe it needs to be warmed up. So going back to my Indian yellow and just going to put another layer on top, and we're pretty much, it looks good, but the value is too dark. Picking up some white and laying the white on top and just lighting, making the value lighter. We always want to make sure that in stage 2 we don't change the value. And looking at it again and going, oh no, it seems too brown. So here we're going. I'm going to go cerulean blue instead of manganese because the manganese made it a bit green. Because manganese has quite a bit of yellow in it. And just going over top of it, a bit of cerulean blue. I'll show you on my brush. There we go. Just wiping it off a bit and going in again on top of it. And it's getting more and more interesting, more and more. Some of the dull colors are the most interesting ones that you'll find on your painting. They make the bright colors sing. Okay, so have a little piece of pink down here, which is screaming. It's pretty bright. And thinking that I probably need to dull this pink. And just throwing out there, would anyone like to tell me what color they might like to put on top of that pink? Marion. I'm just going to grab you, Marion. What would you put on top of this beautiful little piece of pink to make?
I still see quite a bit of pink there, so I'm thinking to dull it, maybe just put a little white on top.
Perfect. Thank you. There we go. And I have a bit of a dirty brush, so it's going to dull it a little bit more because I have a tiny bit of that blue on it. There we go. Now it's a beautiful soft pink. But is it now too dull? So I went back and forth with the Marialva that I did for Opus, and I actually made it too dull. So I had to wait for it to dry and then dry brush in colors to brighten it. So I'm just going to go back in and just brighten it slightly because I do like the pink. In real life, it's brighter than you see on your screen. There we go. How's that? Okay, I'm just looking at, can probably do this yellow. This needs to be dirty just a little tiny bit. And Alexa, what blue would you use on top of this? Or what would you use on top of this to dull it? Just, I don't know, just top of your head.
I have no idea.
Okay, it could be any color. It actually could be And that's right, you have no idea, because it could be so many colors. It could be cerulean blue, it could be a little bit of pink. It just could be what I have on my dirty brush. So I'm just going to pick up just a little bit of white just to make the value lighter. And it is sticky. So I don't know if you can hear the stickiness. And I wonder if I turn this off because it didn't make any difference. Is that better? Better or worse? There we go. Can you see that? I'm just trying to think if I turn my light on or off. No, I don't think it makes any difference. So there's a lot of scratchiness in there. And I was going to get really close and show you that you are going to get a little bit of that. Can you see the unevenness here? And there's a little piece here. So
Yeah.
this is just borderline sticky. I can work on this a little bit. I think if I go into these beautiful big areas, what's going to happen is the stickiness is going to be a little bit too much. Like I'm just feeling it. You can kind of hear it. It's just sort of popping. All right, let's just work on the face. Okay, too bright. Correct? Warmer or cooler? Warm it up or cool it down?
Cool it,
Sorry?
cool it down.
Cool it down with what color would you like to cool it down with? Do you want a purple? Do you want a blue? Okay, I'm going to pick cerulean blue. You know, sometimes when I go, well, I really don't know what color. I just scan back and forth, Still can't pick up a color. Quite often I will use cerulean blue. That's my go-to. And it's a tiny bit sticky. Because you can hear it. It's almost a little bit too sticky, but it's fine. It's really, really thin, so we'll be fine. So there, we just cooled it down. And this one right here needs to be dulled. So thinking of going across the color wheel to orange or again Indian yellow. Indian yellow might make it a little bit too green. So I'm going to go to orange. I am mixing white into my orange. So one of the things I will always do on my palette before I actually put it onto the canvas is get the value correct if you can. So let's see, a little bit too much orange. So again, just picking up a tiny bit of white on the edge of my brush. Didn't go back to the orange, just went to the white and mixing it together here. This is play. This is total play. There we go. So softened, but almost too much. So I'm going to go back to the cerulean blue, tiny bit on my brush. There we go. Better. See how it's better? That's starting to work. Then this one seems too blue. So need to make it the same, kind of going into these beautiful warms. So we have a choice between orange or Indian yellow. So I'm going to go to orange and see what happens. So tiniest little bit of orange, like a butterfly. And it does take a little bit of practice. And also play with different brushes and see which brush works really well for you. There we go. Most beautiful, beautiful warm gray, just by using cerulean blue, orange, Indian yellow, just coming up beautifully. So a bit too bright. Do we need to cool this? Probably need to cool this down. Do you want to use magenta? Do you want it a little redder, or do you want it just super cool with a bit of blue? Thoughts on this beautiful piece that comes down the side of his face? So there is quite a bit of orange in this face, but it seems like it needs to be a little bit softer.
My thoughts are to use manganese.
Oh, okay. I was going for cerulean, but I'll use manganese. Here's manganese. Again, a little bit on the edge. And here we go. Yeah, you're right, because we want to keep it fairly warm, don't we? Good choice. Yeah, beautiful. Perfect. And I'm going to just take what's left on my brush, which is almost nothing. And I might just wipe it off. And I'm just barely going to touch this. Could use a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so really, really nicely dulled. Just trying to clean. I might be able to go into this here. Let me see if I can. Okay, I'm going to pick up Indian yellow. Just a little bit of Indian yellow. Yep, it's a little bit sticky. You can kind of see it's a little bit streaky. So when I was working with Susan Sarback and this happened, we would take our palette knives, we would scrape it off, and we would just put stage 1 back on. With palette knife, it's really easy to do. There we go. And notice that it is not perfect. And if you look in the photograph, it looks more like the horse because the horse has got little variations all through its hide. It's not like a perfect yellow. This is looking a bit green, so my thought would be to use a little bit of white and a little bit of Indian yellow to clean it up. So I make the same value that I see right there. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you. There it is. And now I'm going to just take it off so there isn't much there. It's just very thin layer. And see how I'm warming it up. I just picked up a bit more because it didn't show. So I'm just putting the Indian yellow back in. So it looks a little greener on the screen. It looks a little truer on my canvas. It actually looks terrible on the screen. Wow. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put white on top of this because I'm not liking this color. And this is a really great problem solving. And you will get too much paint on at times. So now that it's wet, I'm actually able to put a little bit more on and play with it. So sometimes I will just put white on to neutralize it and then step back and take a look at it and go, okay, I think I'm going to work on another area and then come back to it. So that's better. I brought it back to being better. All right, let's go to the ears just for a little bit. It's really good to work around the whole canvas, not just one area. It's how the notes of color relate to each other, little piece by little piece. So I've got a bunch of dull dioxazine violet in here. And if I look at Marialva, it looks like there's more hair inside the ear. So one thing I want to say about ears is don't do too much. Just do enough that it's just enough, but not too much. So I'm taking Hansa yellow, my lemon yellow, mixing it with white, and just getting just a tint of white with yellow. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if it will work or not. Let's see. I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to go in and just sort of dry brush into that and just give the feeling of hair. That's all I'm going to do. And this one is a little bit whiter, so I'm actually putting pure white on top of this just to bring it up to the right value. I'm taking the yellow white over to this ear, and it's just really scumbly. I don't want it to be perfect for ears. I want it to have that gorgeous texture. This horse came out of winter. This horse was in southern Alberta and came out of winter with all these beautiful hairs in its ears and everywhere. So there we go. I'm going to do a little bit more in here. But again, I'm trying not to make this part perfect. This part needs to be loose and textured and okay. So this has got a really thin layer of pale white hair. So here we go. And just make it a little irregular so it's not perfect. And just looking over there, that's all good. We can do a little bit of it here. And see how I'm taking this, I'm taking this edge all along here. And what I'm doing is I'm making a bridge between the dark and the light with dry brushing. And this is one of the most wonderful things I love about dry brushing, is just going along that edge and building a bridge so it's not too dark, not too light, it's kind of a mid-tone, and it just softens it as it goes through. Let's look on this side. We've got a little bit of it up in here, and just catching the edge of that purple, just catching it. There we go. And this little edge here, and then this beautiful piece in here, which is kind of, it looks like orange, magenta. I'm going to take that soft white, and here we go. Got some really nice brush strokes on that. So again, just using this beautiful little stiff brush. You can go in and use smaller brushes. You can play. You can use bigger brushes. I think if I was doing his back and side, I would be using this beautiful 1 inch and, you know, going in fairly big for that area. Okay, inside of the ear is pure magenta. And again, all I want to do is butterfly a little kind of veil over it. And I want to just grab this hard edge here, and I want to soften it. So I'm just going to ask, can you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Is it close enough for you to see? Anyone? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so ears. So that's almost finished for ears. Ears don't need very much. I've still got some dark here that needs to be warmed up. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of orange. There it is. I'm going to wipe some of it off because there's too much on it. There we go. Might still be too much. I pop a little bit more. There we go. You can see it's thinner. And I'm going to go into the purple. No, it's too much. I'm now wiping my brush off completely. And all I want is a little bit of dirtiness. Just the tiniest bit. Just to dull this gorgeous purple. So, we don't want any areas left that haven't been touched. We want to go over every single area with something. And we've got, okay, just looking up top here. I'm going to bring a little bit of that yellow again. This is, and going into, on top of this little cap where there's all this gorgeous light. So one of the things I always do is always pick a good photograph so I can see the light and dark. I know, Alexa, you were saying I can't see the values yet. So if you have a good photograph that has good light and dark, it really helps. I have had to paint photographs of animals that have passed that haven't had it, and then had to sort of bring it in myself. And that's a little bit harder to do. I try not to deviate from my photograph. Let's see. This is good. Can do a little bit more in there. So here's a beautiful area. It almost looks like it needs to be a little lighter, but when you squint, it kind of looks dirty. I might ask Natasha. Natasha, what color would you put on this beautiful little piece in here? Would you cool it down first? Or would you lighten it first? Any thoughts? This beautiful piece right in here. That's a tough one.
Hey, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no worries.
I saw that you've already put manganese on top of the orange, so it already looks a bit cooler.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already wanting to see variation in it, as in the lower
Okay.
part, but we're still in stage 2, right?
Well, I think we're going to do stage 2, stage 3 as we go. So I think go ahead. Let's do some stage 3 in here.
Well, I would make the bottom part under the hair lock darker, and then the upper part is a good value. I like the value of that right now.
Okay, that sounds good. So thank you for the value. I'm almost seeing magenta on top of here as my dirty color, as my color to dull it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of magenta. And it's a tiny bit sticky, but it's good. And I don't think I need much of it because I want to keep it pretty light. So just dulled it a little bit. And then through here, I could go darker magenta, or I could go into a blue, or I could go into a purple. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a color, and the color is going to be violet. So I'm going to take some purple from here. I'm just going to put it down, and I'm going to take a bit of magenta. And you are welcome to make your own violet. And I'll just show you. You can kind of see it's starting to come up. I want just a little bit. There we go. I don't want it too purple, and I don't want it too red. So there's my violet. And just needs to be lighter. Adding white to it. Okay, and taking it off, and then just there you go. I think that works for me, and I'm going to also use it on here. I'm just going to bring a little bit on the pink and just dirty it. So here's my first layer here. So it's too pink, too dark, and needs to look more like Marialva's buckskin. So go back into that wonderful Indian yellow, just picking it up just a little bit on my brush and layering it on top. I'm going to add white to it because it's too dark. I think I have the right color, but I don't have the right value. And I'm always adjusting my values. I talked on the first, on our first class about what is your tendency. Is your tendency to go too dark, too light, too bright, too dull? Most people go too light and too bright. I know, Natasha, you put those darks in so beautifully. Every time I see your example, I always look at mine and go, oh, did I put enough darks in? So it's good to see other people's paintings so that you can kind of take a look at yours and go, oh, that's kind of neat. So I'm doing a little bit of stage 3 here. I see some light underneath Marialva's eye. I'm actually just using just normal paint, just painting, and just put that in. Doing a little bit of our stage 3 and a little bit of the stage 3 here too. I go at the eye very carefully. I do little bits of it and then I go away, little bits of it go away, and then finally the eye will be usually the last thing I will do, because it is my stage 4. Brightening this little piece that goes right in the corner, can brighten it a little bit more. And in real life, it is a little bit brighter. Okay, so ears, top. Right, I want to go into some more stage 3 into this beautiful forelock. This horse has such a gorgeous forelock. Okay, I think I've painted him. This is my 6th time I've painted him because he's so gorgeous. All right, so does everyone see light blues on the photograph, like on the top of his crown and pieces coming in? Can you see those beautiful light blues? Yeah, so rather than use cerulean, because I've been using it, I'm going to go right over to ultramarine, and I'm going to put in a few cools, because everything I have here is so warm. I want a little bit of cooling down. So here's my ultramarine blue. It's just gorgeous. That's the sky blue when you look straight up in the sky. This is the blue that you see. It is what's called your primary blue. So you can mix a lot of colors with it to get true colors. For example, yellow and ultramarine blue will make a perfect green. So here I go. I'll put in some of these gorgeous blues. And this can be almost like a meditation. You can really enjoy this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Make sure you don't hold your breath. Let your breath out. And just pulling in some of those just absolutely gorgeous lights. And I may even put a little bit too much in and then back up and take them out. But I want to establish my lights through here. I think this is the most beautiful area in the whole painting is kind of the eye and, you know, just the way this sort of comes down. So just kind of going in. This would be mindful of my time. I have another hour. Perfect. Okay, so I'm hoping to do background. There we go. And this is all with ultramarine blue. This is your coolest, truest blue. Cobalt is a little tiny bit warmer, and then cerulean is warmer, and then manganese is very warm. I'm going to also take this blue over to here. I'm going to turn it a little bit. You can see that. So I'm just looking in through here. I'm looking at these little pieces here and just pulling them in. So again, this is so much easier to do if it is dry. And I'm suggesting beautiful chunks of mane as opposed to doing every little hair. Okay, it seems bluer here, and then it seems like it gets pinker as it goes over to this side. So what's happening right here is that the sky is reflecting the color. The sky is reflecting beautiful blue on top. I'm going to go to my cobalt blue. And the reason is we haven't used it. And I'm sure I'll be able to, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. And I'm just trying to get the right value. There we go. So warmer blues on the top, a little bit cooler as we go down. And just bringing in some of those beautiful pieces. And don't spend too long on this, because what will probably happen is you'll go, wow, look at all these little pieces. And then you're going to end up with 100 pieces, and it's going to look very overdone. So just suggest. Suggesting is good. Putting a little bit of cobalt up in here. And thin, because I still want to keep a lot of this warmth here. So super thin. And a little bit, like barely anything on my brush. Just creating a little bit of light. So almost all the horses I do that were photographed on a blue sky day will have blue along the top, all along through here. A little bit there. So this is not finished, this is in progress, this little crown that we're working on. Again, I'm trying to work up all the areas as opposed to just one. Well, it looks like I took out too many darks. So I'm going to put something back in here. And what do I feel like putting back in there? I think I'm going to use my violet. Nope, that's too light. So I'm going to use a bit of purple. Now I'm using ultramarine blue. And I think I made it too light. So I'm going to go in and make my green. So ultramarine blue and your lemon yellow. So making a really dark green. And I'm just going to put the dark green over it and see what I get. Yep, it's just too green. Adding purple to it, so I'm pre-mixing my black. You have permission to do that. Adding a little bit of violet to it. And let's try this. Oh, nice. Okay, so here's your recipe. Dark green, your dark purple, and then a little bit of magenta. And it gives you a beautiful warm block. You've got to get that green really, really dark for it to work. There we go. So now the value is working, but can you see the individual little pieces? So this is what I will do, is I'll just play. This is just pure play. Yes, it would be easier to do it with a colored block or a still life. This is more free. And I am kind of leaning back, standing back, I'm squinting. I'm really going into my stage 3 because I see some darks here. This needs to be a little darker, so this section in here is broken up into this beautiful kind of mid-tone, into a darker tone. This is like a 4. I'm just finding pieces, working around the whole thing, standing back And again, just working the whole thing. Just doing the edges here because they're catching a little bit of shadow. They're a tiny bit sticky. But just making a little bridge so they're not quite so stark. That is still a little bit too stark and a little strange on this side. Looks like fangs. Okay, now I've got this violet color. I'm going to go into stage 3 and I see, do you see that beautiful notch right in here? So I'm just going to go in that little notch. Might be a bit dark, but that's okay. I'm just sticking it in to start with. And wiping off my brush, using less, and going up the side here, still a lot less, really washing my brush off. And I'm just kind of going up here, and then I'm going to just bridge it in a little bit. There you go. And here, that bone. Just making those shadows really, really soft around the eye. A little bit more here. Just picking up a little bit of that kind of black stuff. There we go. A little bit of shadow here. And in through here. Just that bone goes up like that, of course. And then there's a little bit of stuff that sort of comes through. So there we go. And there is a shadow, but it's underneath the knot of the halter. So I'm going to ignore that. And we could start to break up this big, beautiful area in here. Or I could do your background. Would you like me to do the background now? Have I lost you guys? Do you need a little?
I would love that.
This is
Yeah.
tedious.
Yes, I would like that too.
Let's get some big brush strokes going. How would that be? Okay, you might want to see me mix. So okay, so when you do your background, I just want to let you know you need energy. If you're tired, do not do your background because it's big and you need to stand up and you need to express yourself a little bit. So here's my brush. Here's my 1-inch brush. And I'm looking at my photograph and I'm going, oh my goodness, I see all these rails in there, but what do I see? I see this beautiful light. I see all this light in here. It's just gorgeous. So this part of the background is in light. This part of the background is in shadow. Can you see the shadows through there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to go shadow, getting lighter, and super light over here. Now, I would just love to paint it light blue all the way through, but light blue will not give me light. Light blue will give me shadow because blue is shadow. So how do I paint all of this pale blue in light? So I have a choice. I can use yellow, pink, orange, or magenta as the undercolor. So you're just going, oh my gosh, how are you going to get blue? So quite often I will use real pink if I want to do blue, but I keep seeing yellow. I keep seeing yellow up here. So I'm going to start with my lightest light. And I am going to, and you probably are not going to see too much here. And if you need to go to the washroom or get a coffee, go ahead, because this is going to take a few minutes to get enough paint on here to do something with. So I'm basically putting pale yellow all the way up here. So you have my permission to walk away. You're not being rude unless you want to see me do furious brush strokes. But you can also see that on the video. I use a crisscross motion. It's almost like this and like this. It's almost like an X. And then it almost turns into like a Z also. And I just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's a bit sticky. You have to use a lot of white here. It's just sticky because it's the first layer. So you're just kind of going to go, ugh, you know, it's not the most fun to put on yet. So this is the stage 1. And when I do my background, make sure you have enough time to do the whole thing. Give yourself at least an hour or more so that you can finish it. You want to do it wet on wet. You can do a few adjustments after, but you really want this one to be wet on wet. I'm putting more paint on. So I'm using, this white that I'm using is the Graham. I use various kinds of white. This is kind of, this is nice. It's not super creamy and it's not super stiff. I find the Windsor and Newton are a little stiffer, and I find the Opus very, very creamy, but maybe not covering enough. And sometimes I put classical music on, just so I don't bore myself, because I do get bored easily. Although I love, I don't know, just love the tactileness of using paint on canvas and kind of feeling the canvas bounce a little bit. It's kind of fun. So this is a good time to ask questions if anyone has some questions so far.
You paint the edges of your canvas?
I do at the end.
Okay.
Right now I just go up to them, but I'm not actually, because I want to hold on to it a little bit so I can push in and create the brush strokes. This is quite active. And what I do on the edges is I usually pick a color that will go with the painting. A lot of artists use black, but we don't use black in our painting, and I've tried black and it's so cold, it just doesn't work. So with this painting, you know, quite often what I'll do is I'll pick almost a gray blue and, you know, something fairly neutral, and paint the same color on all 4 sides. So this is pale yellow, even though it looks white. Just being careful. I might just be careful just going up to this edge and leave a little bit around the ears so that I don't take away what I've already got. Now it's starting to get really nice and juicy. Now I can move the paint around. Now it's getting fun. So you're going to find it's a little sticky putting it on. It depends on how much gesso you have on your canvas. And again, I did mention that I'm a lazy painter, and Doug Swinton at Swinton's Art Store told me that these canvases don't need a layer of gesso, but if you do have more layers of gesso, quite often this part is easier. So there we go. There is the yellow, and it needs to continue through Marialva's ears. So I'm going to try not to disturb the ear fluff, the beautiful ear hairs. I think that's what I love about this horse too. Has beautiful ear hair. There we go. Alexa, is your diva, is she Spanish?
No, no, she's a mystery.
She's a what?
Mystery.
Oh,
I have no idea who her parents were. Yeah.
a mystery. Okay. Just remember painting her. All right, so just bringing it around to the side. So this is quite mindless to start with, and then it just gets more intense as we go through. So just going up to the ears a little bit here, and until I hit what I call shadow. So I think it's probably going to be about here. I'm just going to stop it here. Just make sure I've got enough paint everywhere so I can work on top of it. This is going to be like my working palette where I can work colors into it easily. There we go. All right, now I can put in the colors I see. And I see almost like icy gray blues kind of going through. What do you guys see? What would you like to see in the background? Anyone? I mean, there's a lot of things happening there, but if you look at the rail that goes right through here, look at the way the light hits it. You've got yellow light, and then you've almost got this beautiful kind of warm gray blue.
Got some violet in it as well.
Ah, where do you see the violet? Down in here?
On top of the rail and at the very top of the picture, just, you know, just a touch
Oh, nice. Okay,
on the top of the log.
nice. Okay, I'm going in with violet. Thank you. I love that. Okay, here we go. Okay, big brush strokes, big brush strokes. Breathe, try not to hold your breath, try not to clench your teeth. Just really, really relax and enjoy, you know, the mobility of your brush. So just putting a tint of violet in here. I like that. And how far do I want to take it? I'm not sure. What I tend to do for backgrounds, as in how I teach landscapes, is to do bands of color. So this is a band. It's kind of going this way. And I think depending on your screen, your computer screen, you will see different. We'll all see different variations. Some of you may not see violet. Some of you may see more blue, some of you may see brown. Actually, I see some right in there. Even though it's a log, I just want to put a little bit of it in. Okay. I just want to show you this white one that I did of the Sable Island horses before we go any further. It's a really interesting background. Just get back a little bit so you can see. And so this is a Sable Island horse in fog. And what I did was the palest yellow all the way around. And then little touches, little bands of color. So here we have almost a peach that goes through. And then I've got violet and a little bit of blue. And then I've got, looks like Indian yellow with a tiny bit of cerulean. And then cerulean underneath, yellow, and kind of another pale yellow. So really neat bands. I'm just going to go back to it so you can see how it goes. So you can see those bands that go through. And also how loose it is too. It's quite a big painting. It's 4 feet by 5 feet. And it's just kept super, super loose. Hardly any detail. And then I'm working on finishing the opus demo of Marialva. Just a sec here. And haven't quite finished it. I actually let it dry, so I'm going to go in and lighten it a little bit because I've got too bright in through here. I really just want to put, when it's completely dry, I'm going to go in and dry brush the white over everything to lighten it and just have this little tiny bit of color peeking through. Again, if you look at it, you can see the bands of color. So you can see I started with yellow, I brought in some pinks, and the pinks change from left to right. So here's something to think about. This is one of the things that my teacher taught me. From left to right in light, everything will change in value and color. So this actually gets, it goes lighter and then it goes kind of mid-tone as we go through. And here we have light and then it goes darker, but it also changes color. So also from top to bottom, we will get a change in value, so darker, lighter, mid-tone, a little bit darker. So a change in value and in color. So to make a background all one color, it usually doesn't happen in light. Even the Sable Island one that was in fog still had a lot of variations. So that's what we want to do here. We want to say, what are the variations, you know, what do we want to put in? So I'm thinking maybe I'll just take a little bit of violet because I love that color and I love this suggestion. Just put it in here and just get that going. So this will be a bit boring for just a couple minutes while I get it in. Use the biggest brush you have so that it goes quicker. You wouldn't want to use a 1/2-inch brush for this, that would take forever. And I have huge brushes, I have like 2-inch ones too, but I don't use them very often. And you can see it's not very even yet. Just trying to throw it on with some white. And sometimes you pick up really interesting colors on your palette. If any of you have ever taken a course from Neil Patterson, he was the one that taught me about the canola oil and cleaning up your brushes with canola oil. He loves dirty brushes. He loves doing a painting in 10 minutes. The course that I took from him was 3 days, and the second day we had to do a painting every 15 minutes. And I was in tears and I was frustrated, and I had learned this 4-step method, and my girlfriend said, oh, you're going to learn so much from him, he's amazing. And all I did was feel depressed and like everything was ugly, and then I realized what I was doing and just let go. And the last day I had so much fun just putting dirty brush strokes down, playing with energy brush strokes. He's really a gift. He has beautiful, beautiful brush strokes. There we go. So it's a little darker and it gets a little lighter as it goes up to the yellow, but now we've got a sort of a really neat base all over. And I can decide how even I want to make this. Okay, so next color that goes in, I'm thinking cerulean blue or manganese blue. Now if I go manganese, I make it too much green under the yellow. So I'm going to be careful and just go with cerulean. Cerulean is already a dull blue. And here's my cerulean on my brush. And I'm going to do a band kind of here. So I'm going to start it here. So if you think of the background, what color bands do you want to do? You will get there. That will make sense to you. And one of the things I like to do is make sure that one corner is darker. And that will be this one down here. We'll be working on some layers of color. So it's darker right beside Marialva, right by his ear. And I'm going to accentuate that. And then just playfully with my brush strokes, just let it play out lighter. Because everything gets lighter, so it goes from dark to light. And when you have this much background, you will really see the differences in light. When you're painting something really small and you don't have much background, you can't make as much of an impact with light to dark. Because there's just not enough space in the background. Okay, so I've got this beautiful violet and I've got cerulean blue coming in, and it's just super loose. My brush strokes aren't perfect yet. And so then I'm coming down to the bottom, and I'm just kind of curious, what do people see kind of down here? What layer would you like to see next? Or would you like to just keep the yellow? Any thoughts? What people are seeing? I mean, I do see some orange. I see a lot of things. Okay, I'm going to gray this a little bit, and to gray it, I add orange. So I'm just going right in with my orange, little bits of orange on here. Cerulean blue and orange is the most beautiful warm gray. And what I will often do, when I'm painting a dog that has a lot of black on it, I will make my own grays. And I will line up all my colors, my 4 blues, and I will add orange to my 4 blues, because orange and blue across the color wheel dulls, and then I will add white to it. And I will get those stunning grays. So can you see that that's starting to gray? I know that this light is kind of bouncing around, so let me just see. I've got my head in there. See if you can kind of see those grays coming in. Really, really soft. Beautiful and soft. I'm just looking at time. Okay, this can happen. So just added orange to the cerulean blue. Now I'm going to just go in with a little bit of ultramarine blue and bring my dark back in because I lost it. And if you have lots of paint being pushed around in your background, you're going to use the most paint probably on your background. I like it to be really thick, almost like a skating rink for the oil. So you almost skate on it. So just bringing the cooler blue back in. There we go. And let's just keep that a really nice band so you can kind of see it. So I don't like lines like this, so I will either take white or pink, and my inclination right now is to just take some pink and just use a bridge between these 2 layers. So looking at quinacridone rose with lots of white. And when you when you get the pink going, just remember that it's so concentrated, you need like the smallest amount. A little bit of pink on there. I'm just going to go in, make this band. So when you're doing landscapes, that's literally what you're doing, is you're looking for the bands of color going across a field or across water. A little lighter here, a little stronger as I go in towards Marialva. And when I get like a little ridge like this, what I will do is, like a butterfly, just barely touch it and just kind of move it in so that it's not a line. Unless I want a line, but in this one, not so much. Just taking a few of my little brush strokes like a butterfly, really, really subtle, super, super subtle. And I've got a line here, right through here. So I'm going, okay, I've got purple down here. Maybe what I should do is dirty this a little bit, and then I'll know how to finish the rest. So I've got this gorgeous violet down here, and I just want it a little bit cooler. It's very warm against his warm face, so it's nice to have cool, warm play against each other. Picking up my ultramarine, going on top of the violet. Again, just crisscross, crisscross. Oh, actually, that was cobalt. Move my brushes out of the way here. I think it's a really good idea to anchor your corner to make it a little bit darker. I can hear somebody on their easel, their easel moving back and forth. It's good, we've got some painters, people painting, awesome. Okay, so see how I'm making that really dark and letting it get a little lighter as it comes up? And I will also go up this side here too. I'm just putting a color there and then just kind of bringing it in. So this is where wet on wet is just so wonderful, and this is where oil shines through, is doing things like this. This is just lovely, the blending. Just see how beautiful the blending is going on here. So I've got a beautiful corner here. Now we're going up. And we just sort of decide what we want that corner to be. I like my corners to all be a little bit different color and a little bit different value, but also following along with what we already have. I'm going to grab some manganese, my lightest blue. And just going to go up top here with just a little bit of manganese. I might end up getting a tiny bit of green, but I think I'm okay. And you may not see much of it up there. Or you could just use cerulean with the tiniest, tiniest bit of Hansa yellow, and that will give you a little bit of what I'm doing here. Just make it a little bit special with that blue. Going in, there we go. And I'm going to go around his ear too. Okay, there we go. Oh, I can hear some kids helping in the background. Okay, so let's look at this background. Let's see what we think, what we want. Want something a little stronger? I think so. I think it's still a little bit, doesn't have enough strength to it. Picking up my ultramarine again and going back in here, really, really strong. And then just playing it out. I just want something a little tiny bit stronger. Right by the horse, just to make that ear pop. But again, kind of following the color that I see in the background. And we'll just make this a little lighter, putting in some pale yellow. Here we go. And this through here. So what I have is just pale yellow. I'm kind of looking and looking and going, what do I want to put there? So I would love some suggestions. Anyone picks up an interesting color. I'm just doing edges here. So we've got warm. So if we put cool beside it, it will pop a little bit more. We can also make it a little bit darker down here and just pick up a little bit of purple as opposed to violet and darken it down. So you can see it kind of goes in stages. I'm a little bit careful how I start, but always putting in light, putting yellow, pink, usually yellow or pink on the background to start, and then whatever in shadow, a blue, violet, magenta. So that gave it a bit more punch back there. And that little piece is still too strong. I'm going to pick up a little bit of Indian yellow and dull it. So yellow and violet on the color wheel are beautiful. Makes very lovely warm sand color. I sent you last night the compliments. I'm just going to grab my little scale and show it to you. So what I'm doing is I am basically, let's just take this away. So let's see. Okay. Right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using a little bit of yellow and violet to kind of make these tones on the background. My favorite quite often is kind of orange and blue, and you can just see how gorgeous when you add tiny bits of blue to the orange, how it starts to dull it and then bring you into your browns. And of course, if you start with green and then you add red or magenta, you start to get these almost like these blacks that come in. And then if you reverse the red, you just get really lovely, almost magenta-like colors. So those of you that have never mixed what we call the complements, which are opposite on the color wheel, so if you go straight across yellow, you get violet, straight across green, red, straight across orange, blue. It's a really great exercise to do to get your stage 2 for your dull colors and kind of understand kind of how it works. So that was last night in your little package. Okay, so we're just at the point of just finishing this background, and I need some help. So I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to ask some questions for you to think about. So just to finish off here, do you want to go lighter or darker?
Darker at the edge, maybe on the left-hand edge, because there's kind of like some logs that come down.
Yeah. So I want to go a little darker into the light there. Do you want to go warmer or cooler? So I'm using this little sheet that I gave you last night. Do you want to go warmer or cooler for temperature? So right now we've got pale yellow. So it's almost like a cool yellow. We probably want to keep it cool so that we have a nice contrast between all this warmth. And then we want to say, do you want to go brighter or duller?
Duller, because there is a bit of brightness in his back.
Yeah. I would say we should go a little duller, a little cooler, and a little darker on this side. So when you are stuck, you know, the value is what we did in stage 1. That's lighter or darker. Basically, stage 1 is value. Temperature, warmer or cooler. Does anything need to be warmed up or cooled down? Chroma is brighter or duller. Chroma is kind of using the color that you have and making it brighter or duller. So this is a really great thing to also look at when you're trying to figure out something. And I'm trying to figure this out because I'm not sure, I'm not trusting totally the background, so I'm trusting some of my instincts, but I like the idea of going a little darker here. So I'm actually going to pick up the violet. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of violet here. And remember, yellow and violet dull. So I want to dull a little bit. I want it a little darker along the edge. And I want to go lighter as I go in. This is a really, really simple background. It's not super complicated. It's just a few bands of color, and I will go over the colors again before I finish. So there we go. Okay, so started with pale yellow all the way down to here. This was a violet, then brought in a pink band on top, then various blues. Ended up with ultramarine, dark, right in the corner by the ear to make all of that pop, and just getting lighter and lighter as it came out. Almost a manganese blue through here and through here. And then violet on top of the pale yellow going into here. So one of the things I'm just looking at time, yep, is this is too bright. I need to dull it. I don't like my background to take center stage. I like it to be in the background. So we've got violet. What's the opposite color on the color wheel I just showed you to violet? Yellow. So do I want to use a pale yellow here, or do I want to use a warm yellow here? I think I want to keep it cool, so I'm going to just go to my hands of yellow, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. So here we go, and I'm just going to go in and just watch it dull. And you can press. As you press, it mixes, and it becomes almost like a beach, like the sand color. Now, the only thing about doing that is that, did it get too light? And I'd have to say, yes, it did for me. So I want to darken it again. So sometimes I'll just go, okay, I want to darken it. I'm just going to go in. I could go into green. Oh, green would be perfect. Let's go into green, because green and purple, remember how it makes that black? So I'm mixing up. I'll just show you my green. It's really beautiful. Right here. So I just took a little bit of ultramarine and just brought it into my hands, the yellow, and just made this green. So green on purple will really dull it. This is a bit bright. Let's see if it's too bright. Yeah, a little too bright. I'm going to make a darker green. I'm just adding more ultramarine blue to it. So it's really like a forest green, or hunter green, we call it. There we go. Okay, so you can, there I go. There, that's right. I needed a cooler green. My green was a little too warm. So just pulled it down. And now I'm going to just feather my brush strokes. So just watch. I'm going really slow for you so you can kind of see my patterns. And my teacher, this is what my teacher taught me for landscape, was this kind of almost crisscross. And you can just fall in love with your brush strokes because it's like walking in the sand. You leave beautiful brush strokes. There. Okay. Oops. I will be taking some nice pictures of this so you can kind of see it. I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like as we kind of go through. There we go. And I'm just going with my brush and, you know, just dab a little bit. But what I will do, I'll take a photograph when we're done so that you've got everything I've done so far. And then I might just do a little bit on the background and I'll take another photograph and show it to you. Questions? I'm just going to unpin myself here. Questions? Did I put you all to sleep? I always feel so bad. I just go, oh man, watching someone paint can be really tedious. Oh, I'm looking at it on the small screen, so now you can really see the variations. So always love a dark corner. Love, love, love a dark corner. And then usually, like, this is such a beautiful ear, a little bit of dark beside it, pop it up is beautiful. I love the suggestion of the dark here so the eye doesn't fall out. And then it just gets a little lighter over the back. The bit of pink along the top. Yeah. Really nice and soft to go with the softness of his face and his expression. I would love to see our painters, what they're doing. Vicky, would you show us? I'm just gonna spotlight you. I just want to see your painting. Can we see your painting?
Yes, I've only been able to do little bits and I'm almost out of white, so I didn't do too much of the background, but I did this.
Oh, good. Nice.
And I didn't do anything else until I get more white for the background. That's about it. And I'm going to have to go over the like dulling and the stage 3 for the rest of the horse. I just did little bits. So
wonderful. Well, that keeps you awake too, which is good.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed I have your
I did.
Yeah.
Here, let me just spotlight. These are her two
my
beautiful
two
horses.
old horses.
Oh,
yes. Tiara and Cachet, and Tiara is over 36 and Cachet is 26. So
Oh my
old girls
so,
living the dream.
Can you
Pardon?
just go to the first one because the bands of color are really, really obvious on it. If you can take us over to Tiara. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So look at the background. So look at the top, dark blue, a little darker blue, goes off to a green to the right. So left to right, a change in value and color. Beautiful bands, this beautiful orange band, you know, a little bit more magenta, pinker as we go down with a little bit of orange, and then this corner a little duller, but right where her curve is on the back, extra yellow and green so that your eye slides over there. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Natasha, may we see? Do you mind sharing? You can say no if you want.
I don't mind.
Oh, thank you, Natasha.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's right. Now you make, I want to go, I want more color on my background. I love your interpretation. Every time I see a Natasha painting, it kind of hits me in my heart with the colors. Natasha has a gift for really seeing deep color, and a gift for bringing it out. This is just stunning, just fun and stunning and beautiful. And I just love your new studio with your clay walls.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
I was going to mention that it'd be nice to see you do the far eye at some point, maybe next class, because I know you were mentioning that one eye will have more detail and the other eye will have less detail. And I'd like to see the process of you making the decisions on the eyes and how you're going to finish them.
I will do that for sure next time, because everything will be dry enough on the eyes. So just asking everybody if they want to paint along, get the base on, because it gets too much of a ice skating rink to do wet on wet on the eye. So I always do layers and let them dry and then keep going at them. But thank you, Natasha. We will finish stage 3 on the other parts, and do a stage 3 and 4 on the eyes, and a stage 4 on some of the nostril. And we're going to leave the ears pretty much fairly loose. You're all welcome to do what you'd like with the ears. Yeah, so closure. Alexa, are you still awake? Can I start with you?
Sure.
How was it today? How was it more clear or less?
I don't know.
Okay, it's just so much right now.
Yeah, I find myself quite frustrated with this process. I feel very stifled, unsure. Yeah, so I don't know what the solution to that is, but
I think maybe you're a kinesthetic learner, and kinesthetic visual, like do you need it all to take it in?
I tend to need, like, I work best when someone's coming and then showing me how to move past a particular section that I don't get, because I have a really hard time like coming out of process and asking you a question, for example. Like, it doesn't really work for me to do that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but yeah.
Well, I want to hear from you this week, and I want to find out the best way to teach you. I want to find out a way to support you. So let's talk on email, okay? Awesome. Thanks for showing up today. Francine, how was it today?
Yeah, I liked doing you showing the stage 2. It's just nice to see all the blending that's happening and how it kind of brings everything together. And I really like the background because I always have trouble with the deciding on the background. So when you said the bands of color, it's nice to kind of have that reference to work on rather than one kind of all the same color.
Great, awesome. And have you had a chance to look at the first video?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, okay. I was gonna say.
I still have to work through all that. So.
Okay, feel free to email me and let me support you in any way I can. That's, the course is really about the week in between too, and getting a way of working with me and the video so I can take you somewhere, open up things for you. Okay, thank you. Janet.
Yeah, today was great. I'm really excited to get on to the next stage now. I think a lot more kind of clicked into place watching today. It was starting to make sense to me. So yeah, I'm just really excited to get going, and especially the background, because normally I put the background in quite early when I paint. So for me, having the white background is quite distracting. So yeah.
Great. Well, you can understand sort of the process doing a big painting, that if we tried to do the background and the stage one, we wouldn't have been able to probably get it in.
Yes, yes. I understand the process. It's just that hang up from my, because
Yeah.
normally I would tone the canvas and stuff. So having this bright white, I find a little bit distracting for me. So yeah. But yeah, I definitely understand why we did the stage one and left the background. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Julia.
Sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. No, I also really enjoyed the background. That's something I've really, really struggled with as well. And I've always been afraid of muddying up colors, but the way you demonstrate it just really helps a person understand colors and mixing them together and putting them over top of each other and how they're going to show through. And yeah, I really enjoyed today. It was great.
Awesome. Thank you. I look forward to seeing everyone's backgrounds. And, feel free to be expressive. You saw Natasha's and then you saw mine. So we've got kind of two sides. So wherever you want to land, with more color, less color, somewhere in between. Yeah. You know what? A lot of my students go, well, when do I stop? When should I stop painting the background or painting the horse or putting layers on? And what I always say is when it pleases you. You don't need to please me. It's when it pleases you. If you like more simplicity, you're going to stop earlier. If you have to see it to the end because you have that kind of mind, go to the end and see what it is. Put more detail in, put more color in, put whatever you need in. But you decide what feels right for you. Right now, you're sort of following me, but there is a point where you can just stop and say, it feels done for me. I love it the way it is. Like I'm looking at it right now, and if I just finish the eye, it could be finished. So yeah, just a thought. Thank you. Marion.
Well, I've never had 2.5 hours go so fast.
Thank you.
It was amazing. You've changed my painting forever. It makes a lot of sense of what we did last week, and this week is just, just so much content, so much color, so much. I can hardly wait.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marion. Your enthusiasm just lifts me up. You're just, yeah, that's how I felt when I met Susan Sarback. I had no idea how to get there. And oh my gosh, there is some frustrating months and weeks. And I had never bought a plein air easel before and packed it up and put it on an airplane and went off with it and then tried to set it up. I didn't even know how to set up my easel when I got there. But yeah, but it's a wonderful journey, isn't it?
Really is. Really is. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on this journey with us. This is great.
There'll be no more homemade dinners around here. Too
Perfect.
busy.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you, Marion. Joyce, how was it today?
Well, I have a lot of work to do to catch up to you guys, that's for sure. But I'm looking forward to at least pulling out a paintbrush and putting a slap of color on my canvas. I think when I was looking at the picture that you sent, I think I saw too many details to start. And I think I maybe have to scale back and just look at the larger shapes, because now I see once you get to stage 2, then some of those more intricate shapes are coming in. So I think that's what I learned today, like just to focus more on the shapes rather than, oh, I need a little point on the end of this mane here. Like that doesn't look like a horse's mane, you know. I think I have to start looking in more shapes than actually like hair and floof and so yeah, I learned a lot today.
Wonderful. And one of the things Susan taught me was don't think of, for example, an eye as an eye. Think of it as light and dark. Just think of it as those beautiful shapes coming together. And you know, when we look at the muzzle, like there was a few people that commented, oh my gosh, like I can't make sense of the muzzle when they were drawing it. And to me, it really looked like a puzzle. It didn't really look like a muzzle. But once you got the color and the value in, it's like it was magic. And I know I've gotten lost a lot of times doing dogs just because I don't have a dog and I don't know their spirit as well. So usually the spirit comes in and helps me a little. And I've had to turn it upside down and just paint shapes and just get those shapes in and get the value right. And then all of a sudden I turn it right side up and I go, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, Susan, because that's what she does. She never thinks I'm painting a muzzle or an ear. She always says, oh, it's just this beautiful shape against this shape and then this shape that fits in. And if that's when you're truly in your right brain, you're just thinking shapes. And if you can't get there, try turning your painting upside down and try turning your photograph upside down, because you'll go straight to your right brain. So when I'm teaching grade 8 and grade 9s, this method, we're working upside down, and it's a game to them. They're totally like, oh, this is great. And when they turn it right side up, they're just amazed what they can do. So thank you for talking about the shapes. They're so incredibly important. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce. And Kim.
Oh, hi. Well, I'm really looking forward to this week. Last week was a bit of a write-off for me, but I just can't wait to do the layering and see how that works with my acrylics, because the colors you've made are just amazing. And I like how you can go back and change it. You're not trying to mix a color on the palette to find that perfect color. You're able to adjust as you go and make it darker, lighter, or change the values and the chromas. So I'm really excited because I haven't done this technique before, and I'm just used to, I want to paint and I like to be loose, and I think this will be really fun.
Wow, thank you. Your enthusiasm is infectious. I have to really restrain myself not to finish this painting. It was really hard to stop last time, and now it's hard to stop. So I have to go start a new painting this week just so I don't do something that you can't see. Thank you, Kim. That's wonderful. And yeah, big, loose, colorful, joyful, fills you up when you have a bad day. Come to your easel. Some people think, oh, you have to feel good to come to your easel. You know what? I've come to my easel at the very worst times in my life, and it's just been great. It's just switched things up hugely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to photograph this before I do anything else to it, and then I'll probably do a little bit to the background because I might want to put a bit more color in, I'm not sure. And then I'll send you that photograph right away. Last time the video took forever. We had really bad internet, and I think I tried it 8 times, and my husband's daughter was here. She finally came and suggested some different ways of uploading it to YouTube. So I think I'm good now. Hopefully 2 hours max for the video, or earlier, but I will send the photographs right away for you. So those of you that want to start can. And again, thank you for your patience, and that I just feel very honored to be able to paint with you, and I really welcome your questions and want to support you 100% during the week. So please don't be shy asking me. No question is too dumb or too tedious. I'm really, really happy to support all of you and get you to this joy stage, which some of you are almost at. So was there anyone I know, was there anything else anyone wanted to say, Vicky or Natasha?
I won't thank you, and I will look forward to getting the video next week, but I have family and grandchildren at the house next weekend, so I won't be able to join you ladies, but I hope you have an awesome time painting. I look forward to seeing all your paintings too. They're amazing. I love it. Have a great day.
Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for spreading the love and the beauty.
You're awesome, Natasha. Okay, ladies, thank you. You made my morning, and
Bye.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing you during the week.
Bye.